There is a specific sound that the human mind makes when it begins to snap. A quiet, high-pitched ringing that only you can hear as the world around you starts to dissolve into gray static. Imagine standing at the edge of a deep, dark canyon, knowing that if you step off, you will not fall. You will simply drift into a space where time, logic, and your own identity no longer exist. This is the reality of the 72-hour sleep deprivation experiment, a journey into the most dangerous territory on Earth, the uncharted corners of your own consciousness. Most of us view sleep as a luxury, a simple ritual of closing our eyes and drifting away. But in the next 45 minutes, you are going to realize that sleep is actually the only thing keeping you sane. It is the barrier between the person you see in the mirror and a primal, terrified creature that has been waiting in the shadows of your brain for a chance to take control. This is not just a story about being tired. This is a story about the systematic destruction of the human soul, 1 hour at a time. As the clock begins to tick, the first few hours feel deceptively normal. You are fueled by a sense of purpose, perhaps even a bit of arrogance. You have pulled all-nighters before to finish a project or drive through the night, and you think you know what to expect. But there is a fundamental difference between staying up late and choosing to abandon the biological necessity of rest for 3 full days. Within the first 6 hours, your body is already starting to panic. Deep within your hypothalamus, the master clock of your brain is screaming for the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals the start of the repair cycle. But you are ignoring that signal. Instead, you are flooding your system with caffeine and artificial light, forcing your neurons to fire when they should be cooling down. You feel a strange buzz in your chest, a jittery energy that feels like strength, but is actually the sound of your body's emergency sirens going off. By the time you reach hour 12, the subtle shifts begin. Your focus, which felt like a laser beam just a few hours ago, begins to soften at the edges. You find yourself reading the same sentence 4 times, and by the 4th time, the words have lost their meaning. They are just black shapes on a white screen. Your eyes feel heavy, not because you are sleepy, but because the muscles responsible for moving them are becoming inflamed and exhausted. Every blink feels like it takes a fraction of a second longer than it should. You are still in control, or at least you think you are, but the foundation of your reality is already beginning to crack. If you find yourself fascinated by the terrifying limits of human endurance, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We are diving deep into the mysteries that most people are too afraid to face, and your support helps us keep the light on in these dark places. As the first night truly settles in, the world changes. The silence of the house or the lab begins to feel heavy, like a physical weight pressing against your shoulders. Between hour 18 and hour 24, something remarkable and horrifying happens to your blood chemistry. Your levels of adenosine, a chemical that builds up in your brain while you are awake, have reached a critical mass. In a healthy person, sleep acts like a janitor, sweeping this chemical away. But for you, the trash is piling up in the hallways of your mind. You are now operating with the same cognitive impairment as someone who is legally intoxicated. Your decision-making skills are failing. Your ability to process emotions is becoming erratic. You might find yourself laughing at a shadow on the wall, or feeling a sudden, unexplained wave of sadness because of the way a chair is positioned in the room. You are losing the ability to distinguish between what is important and what is meaningless. When the sun begins to rise on the second day, you expect a second wind. You think the light will save you, but the light is actually your enemy. Your body is now caught in a brutal tug-of-war between its internal rhythm and the external world. You are shivering, even if the room is warm. Because your brain can no longer regulate your internal temperature. Your skin feels sensitive, almost raw, as if the very air touching you is an insult. This is the stage where the first true glitches in the matrix appear. You are walking down a hallway, and for a split second, you forget where you are. Not just the room, but the city, the year, and your own name. It only lasts a heartbeat, but the terror it leaves behind is permanent. You realize that your memory is not a solid object. It is a flickering candle in a windstorm. At hour 36, the psychological pressure becomes an obsession. You begin to fixate on small, insignificant details. You might spend an hour staring at the texture of a carpet, convinced that the patterns are moving, or that there is a hidden message written in the fibers. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles logic and social filters, is effectively shutting down to save energy. This leaves your amygdala, the primitive center of fear and emotion, in total control. You are no longer thinking, you are reacting. Every sudden noise makes you jump. Every reflection in a window looks like a stranger watching you. You are becoming a prisoner in a house made of your own anxieties. If you are feeling the tension of this journey, please share this video with someone who thinks they can survive anything. Let them see what the mind is truly capable of when the lights go out. The transition into the second night, hour 48, is where the horror truly begins. This is the threshold of the shadow world. Your brain is so desperate for the REM sleep it has been denied that it begins to force you into a state called microsleep. These are bursts of sleep that last only seconds, occurring while your eyes are wide open. You are literally dreaming while you are awake. You might be staring at a television screen and suddenly realize that the people on the screen are talking directly to you, calling you by name, telling you things that only you could know. When you snap out of it, the room is silent again, but the feeling of being watched remains. The line between your internal thoughts and the external world has vanished. You are now a ghost inhabiting a body that is slowly starting to fail. Your heart rate is now irregular, skipping beats as it tries to keep up with the stress hormones flooding your veins. Your blood pressure is spiking, and you can feel the pulse in your neck. A rhythmic thud that sounds like a drum in the distance. You start to hear things, not just whispers, but complex sounds. A piano playing in another room. The sound of a crowd cheering just outside your window. When you check, there is nothing but the cold, dark night. Your brain is trying to make sense of the sensory deprivation, and it is failing spectacularly. It is creating its own reality to fill the void. This is the moment where many people in these experiments beg to stop. But the momentum of the 72 hours is like a freight train with no brakes. You are going to the end, whether you want to or not.